on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. This coming Saturday, November 20th, this Saturday, there's a workshop for election judges, or an election judge workshop, actually, for Chicago Police. Begins at 12:30 p.m. It's being hosted at Trump International Hotel downtown.
Nice.
And the sponsor is Scott Kaspar, who is an attorney. He was a candidate for Orland Township Supervisor. And he's also the chairman and founder of Responsibility in Government. He joins us now. Scott, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here.
So the impetus for this election judge workshop specifically for Chicago Police.
So it's Chicago area police. You know, the general public is invited to attend as well, but it's free for police, and it's free parking for police, and there's gonna be free food for police. Well, free food for everyone, really, but it's a free event for police.
You're not going to get police there without free food, that's for sure.
So I learned that through marketing, that you have to emphasize the free. So.
Right,
No,
but why are you doing this? Like, why just focusing on retired police officers from Chicago and surrounding suburbs?
Sure. Well, active and retired. Police have been through the ringer the last 2 years, really. Whether it be, I don't know if I want to call it a movement, but the defund the police movement, or the vaccine mandates. And I have police friends who are really kind of worked up, and when they complain to me, I say, well, get involved in the system. Like, do something about it. And they say, what? I run for mayor? Okay, well, maybe that's a little bit too much, but what you can do is get involved in the electoral process, and you can become an election judge and an election observer. And the more I thought about it, the more it made sense for a police officer, retired or active, to become an election judge. Every day they're enforcing the law. Every day they're dealing with confronting situations and de-escalating situations, and these skills translate, directly to the important role of an election judge.
I've actually, in the campaigns I've run, particularly in Cook County or statewide, that necessarily means you have to deal with Cook County, have hired dozens, in some cases hundreds of retired, sometimes retired, but off-duty police officers to serve as poll watchers, as you say, election observers, specifically poll watchers, because we know the areas and we know the precincts throughout Cook County and throughout the state where there are always problems, and having a cop there with a gun, seriously,
really?
And a badge. That's part of any sensible election or ballot integrity program, particularly for Republicans in Cook County in Illinois. As far as I'm concerned, it's something I've done. Sure. I'm not the only one who's done it, but it's something that the Republican Party has failed to do. Have ballot integrity programs generally, but specifically including police. So I love the idea, and I love the focus on police, because they do bring a sense of authority and law enforcement to polling places, and that's not a bad thing in the areas we're talking about.
No, it's not a bad thing. And you mentioned a good point. They know their precincts better than anyone. They know how to interact with a wide variety of people and personalities. So it's really they're trained to do that. So it's really, I think it's a wonderful part of the solution. Cook County has a chronic problem of not enough election judges. There should be 5 election judges in every precinct. There should be at least 2 from each party. And oftentimes there's not. Oftentimes there's vacancies, and they get filled by things like students. And not that that's horrible, but we can do better.
Well, and I wonder if your experience running for office is in some way informing this effort you've undertaken.
It is, it is to an extent. I went through the process of running for local election, and I mean, honestly, for years prior to that, I just, I voted by absentee. So my eyes were opened during that process of, of especially early voting, being out in front of the polling place for 2 weeks straight. You see how it really runs, and there's, I think it's fair to say that in Cook County, especially, there's room for improvement.
You think?
Well,
Yeah, that is
think-
an understatement.
I think police officers really could be an important part to that solution.
And forgive my ignorance, but they can wear their uniforms. I mean, if they're
Not
still active
uniforms.
police officers, well, they can't wear their uniforms.
Not in uniform; they're off duty.
Okay.
Right, they would be off duty.
Yeah.
And how many people have signed up for it so far?
We have over 100, and we have room for. Well, we have a ton of room. It's at Trump Tower, but we still have room, so we're still accepting registrations, and I think it's going to be a very exciting day. We have, a keynote speaker is Bernard Kerik, the 40th Police Commissioner of New York City, the commissioner on 9/11, and cops love that guy. I think he'll be a good draw. Apparently, he has something to say about election integrity as well, which will be helpful. But he's just planning on meeting with Chicago cops and motivating them to take this important step and become election judges.
Yeah, I think, you talked about this being eye-opening. Probably be less eye-opening for a lot of the police there, but for any resident that wants to show up from the Chicagoland area too, it may be eye-opening to understand exactly how elections are actually administered. Obviously, if you go to the polls, you see some of it, but I don't think you get a full appreciation for it. And again, in highly competitive districts where there's a lot of money and a lot of manpower, I mean, the other side, I know this is nonpartisan, but the other side, the Democrat Socialists, they have unions, the public sector unions, and you go to polling places in hotly contested areas, and you'll see their people 3, 4, 5 deep passing in front of the polling place. I mean, legitimately, but nonetheless, and sometimes not so legitimately, but there are legitimate things they can do, but they have a presence there. And that presence is impactful, particularly when you understand that most survey research suggests that about 1 in 6 voters make their decision on particular races as they're going into the polling place. That's how late they decide, and which is why sometimes there can be movement right up until the polls close.
No, it's true, and you mentioned the public sector unions. A lot of teachers will sign up to be election judges, and I've had great teachers in my life, so I'm not gonna say that that automatically may be a disqualifier because they're likely to be aligned with the Democratic Party. But what will happen a lot of times is a teacher will bring, especially like a high school or college professor, will bring students with, and the students are there for to earn extra credit. And you would like to believe those students are acting independently, but let's be honest, there's always going to be that teacher-student relationship going on, and I just think we can do better. And thank you for pointing out this is a nonpartisan event. The organization I've started, Responsibility in Government, is a 501c4, so we're required to be nonpartisan. And I don't know about you, but even if a police officer is a strong Democrat, I would be much more comfortable having that person as an election judge than most anyone else, because I know they've taken an oath and I know they take their job seriously, and enforcing the law is what they do.
Yeah, and also, I mean, to some extent too. I mean, there's the skullduggery piece of it, and then there's just the ignorance piece of it. And so you'll have election judges who have experienced this, where they won't let a poll watcher see who's voted, for example, and the poll watcher with a properly credentialed is entitled to see who's voted. It is entitled to check in and see who's voted, think about like after the morning rush and before the evening rush and so on and so forth, because that's part of a get out the vote program. And both parties are entitled to do it. And both parties are entitled to see, and they've got their lists oftentimes if they're well organized. And so they know, okay, well, our plus voters, these plus voters have voted as of 10 a.m. and these plus voters haven't. So we better, send our door knockers out or make phone calls to these voters, and it starts to winnow the list during the day. That's part of legitimate campaigns, legitimate election operations, legitimate get out the vote efforts as part of those elections. And sometimes you just have election judges that don't understand that a credentialed poll watcher is entitled to see something like that.
That's absolutely right. And they're entitled, the poll watchers are entitled to watch the verification process and the challenge signatures, and
Right.
and having an election judge who knows that they have those rights as well, and is going to look out to to protect their rights, is important. We all know that some election judges, and maybe they're ignorant, and maybe this is intentional, or maybe a combination of both, but they will go to great lengths to make the poll watchers have a rough time. They'll put them in in the corner behind
Right.
the table where they
Right.
can't really see very well, and having an election judge who's above board, who's going to be looking out for the rights of everyone in the room, including the right of the voter to be able to cast a ballot. So I just think this having police as election judges resolve so many of these issues.
It's such a great idea. And how can people who haven't signed up and want to sign up, where can they go?
So if you go to responsibilityin government.com, you'll see there's a whole bunch of information about the event, and from there you can click to register. You can register for, if you're a police officer, retired or active, or anyone in law enforcement, you can register for a free ticket. There's general public tickets that are $20, and we also have VIP tickets because we're doing a special dinner afterwards with Bernie Keurick, so you can sign up for those as well. But it's all at responsibilityin government.com.
All right. He is Scott Kaspar, the founder of Responsibility in Government, responsibilityin-government.com, as we get more information on this event on Saturday at 12:30 at the Trump Hotel downtown. Election Judge Workshop for Chicagoland police and residents, as he was describing, nonpartisan in nature. Scott, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck with the event on Saturday.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for joining us. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Are you aware that AmericanEagle.com has been designing websites since the internet started? Do you know they've helped companies large and small achieve results that they themselves thought impossible? Today, a well-designed website is an art form. There are no cookie-cutter solutions. At AmericanEagle.com, they are proud to design and develop a website that fits their client's business. Their experience shows that a well-designed website with the client's business at the forefront will bring an excellent return on their investment. Clients, from startups to medium and large businesses, have come to rely on them for a full line of website services, from